Hello there, my name is MrSmartDonkey. Welcome to the second battle in the second round of the Heroes of the Old World tournament hosted by Lord Rexasaur. So today I'm up against the Prussian Prince, and I was dreading this battle a decent bit because the Prussian Prince is known as one of the better Total War online players, I suppose. So I wasn't looking forward to this. And let's just go over the army setup and then I'll explain why I brought the army that I did, because it's not something you'd expect from the Dwarfs. So anyway, I brought 4 Grimgarchbearer, again, just like the previous battle, a Runesmith, 1 unit of Miners, 4 units of Longbeards, 4 units of Longbeards with Great Weapons, and 5 units of Hammerers. I'll go over it in a second. Let's switch over to his army. So he brought Azak on a flying mount. I can't remember, it's got a name, like an actual named flying mount, but whatever. He's brought 2 units of Goblins, 1 unit of Orc Biggins, probably all 3 of those units because of budgetary reasons, 10 units of Black Orcs, and 6 units of Goblin Wolf Riders. So the reason I brought this all melee army, essentially, well, the minor unit was also for budgetary reasons for myself. The reason I brought 4 Grimgarchbearer, just the same reason as of the previous battle, is because Azak, I knew he was going to bring Azak, because he was going, I knew exactly what he was going to do. I brought this army exactly against what he was going to do, and that is Spirit Leech. Azak has got the Spirit Leech ability as well, so I knew he was going to Spirit Leech my general, because I've been practicing as well with Gladiator Gamer, because I'd actually played Gladiator Gamer before I played this one. And we'd been practicing a few battles because I knew exactly what he was going to do. And yeah, Spirit Leech my general, so I brought Forgrim because he takes like an extra 1 Spirit Leech or something to die because he's got an extra 1,000 HP or something. And the Runesmith, same reason as well, to try and use that rune to block the damage mostly from Spirit Leech. And then I went all melee because I knew that he was going to bring Azak on a flying mount, and I also have tested that the Thunderers just take way too long to take down Azak on a flying mount. So what I was hoping for is that he wasn't going to abuse the system, which he does actually end up doing, because he can technically, against this army, because I didn't bring any range, he can just fly and hover over my general and just kill my general while I run towards him. And that is exactly what he ended up doing. It's something that I had accounted for and just hoped that my men would be able to sustain the loss of the general and fight through. I knew it was going to be tough, but so you can see he's actually what he always does. He plays very similar in most battles. He charges forward immediately and goes straight into melee. But you actually notice that he decides to change his plans in a minute because he realized that I don't have any range units, so there's no reason. There you go, the first Spirit Leech already going off. I knew exactly what he was going to do, and he can literally hover around here with his general because he has no reason to move. I don't have any range to fight him, and you can see him moving back. And I expected him to do this. I was hoping he wouldn't, because it's, I mean, it makes sense. Like, why wouldn't you do it? I would call it sort of a pussy move because, I mean, there's nothing I can do about it, but that's the thing. He could say, well, you should have brought Thunderers, and I know I could have. There you go, another Spirit Leech going off. I could have brought Thunderers, but if I had done that, then he would have been able to overrun me in melee, and he's, and I figured that just wouldn't be worth it. I needed to fight all of his melee because I knew he was going to bring a ton of Black Orcs, so I decided to just go full on the Hammers and Longbeards with Great Weapons. The Hammers can technically beat the Great Black Orcs on 1v1, even though they cost a lot more. It's actually a pretty close battle. The Longbeards with Great Weapons don't win them 1v1, but I was hoping that it would be enough anyway. The reason I brought all the Longbeards, the regular Longbeards, and 1 minor unit is so I could put them behind my line and essentially play a very aggressive while defensive move, essentially, which is to use all these guys in melee and defend their backs with defensive units against, because I knew he was going to bring some cavalry as well. I would have expected Orc Boys, but he actually brought the Goblin Wolf Riders. But yeah, I just wanted to protect my own back against the back charges. But yeah, you can see him just moving back and using Spirit Leech whenever possible. He's actually running back on the hill, and I was kind of like, oh shit, I wish there wasn't a hill there, because if there wasn't a hill, then eventually it would be okay, but if I had to charge uphill, that was going to, like, there was no way I was going to win that battle. So I figured I would move right here and hope that I would trigger him into charging downhill, and then sort of wait until the last second to counter charge. And he actually did end up doing that, but you can see Forgrim, he's taking about 3 Spirit Leech, so he's about half HP, a little under half HP, so definitely it helps bringing him instead of Ungrim. Because I knew I was going to lose the general anyway. It's just a shame that I lost him before the battle had even started, essentially. So you can see, yeah, he's got the cavalry around, but he doesn't actually use anything because he's got no reason. He could walk away until my general was dead, he could run away until everything is dead, essentially. Although, of course, he would eventually run out of magicka. So you can see him, I baited him into the charge and then run back a little bit just so I'm not fighting him uphill anymore and then do the counter charge. Of course, I lose a bit of my charge bonus, but my charge bonus on the Dwarves is pretty low anyway. Black Orcs have a higher charge bonus anyway, so I had to do something along those lines. See, he's actually getting a little low now. I cast his abilities and charged them into melee. I knew I was going to be able to fight Azak anyway, so I had to use him as much as possible in melee. Not a Spirit Leech going off, but I also preemptively used the defensive Rune of Negation to block as much of that as possible, so I actually end up being able to take another one, essentially. But yeah, you can see all the defensive units, I put them just back facing this way. In the hopes of blocking his cavalry, which worked out quite well. The plan, like my plan was exactly it was going exactly the way I wanted it to go, essentially. I was doing exactly, everything was going to plan, but whether that was going to be enough was a question that I didn't know the answer to just yet. My general already died, so Forgrim is gone. Luckily the Dwarves have a lot of morale, so they were able to sort of sustain. Longbeards on the flanks actually works out somewhat well. I actually managed to get some cavalry through, but it doesn't matter too much. I tried to block it a little bit. I do counter some of it, but I think he still goes through a little bit. Luckily the Longbeards actually have the old Grumblers thing, which basically means that they've got the encouragement thing. I don't know if you can actually see. Yeah, you can see all those blue circles. That's my Longbeards giving morale to other units around them. So I had a ton of morale around the place, and all I just had to do is, yeah, technically all I had to do was hope that would be enough. But you can see the Longbeards are great weapons, losing quite drastically against the Black Orcs. They routed as well. Obviously that doesn't help a whole lot. Let me just throw my phone away. Oops. But yeah, so I had to just hope that I use the word hope a lot because there wasn't a whole lot I could do here. I knew exactly what it was going to do, and I had to find a way to counter that. But the question, I just didn't know the answer of whether that was going to be enough or not. And of course, it's still Prussian Prince. So even when I do bring exactly what I was even when I do counter exactly what I wanted to counter, that still might not do it because it is Prussian Prince. He's definitely one of the best players out there. I actually end up having to send some of my Longbeards into melee because I couldn't, all my frontline units were dying and or fleeing already, so I had to do something. I also just realized in the previous episode I explained something, or I said something, I didn't really explain why I said it. Oh god, this is going to be super confusing because I'm recording these one after the other, but you guys obviously aren't watching them one after the other, or might not be. But anyway, what I said is that I would still go through with one victory depending on the other results, and that's because the rules have been changed for the second round, where it doesn't matter how many men you have remaining after the battle anymore. It's about personal score, same as how football works in the group stages of tournaments, where if you beat, obviously goal difference, etc., but besides that, it's personal. If you both have 3 points, and if you beat the other person or other team with 3 points, then you're the one going through, essentially. I don't know, it's all going to be very confusing because, well, whatever, it doesn't really matter. Either way, so it's not actually the men remaining that counts anymore, it's the personal score. So, depending on who I beat, I might go through, or who I lose to, I might not go through, essentially. Or I could just win all the battles, but as you can see, this one isn't going particularly well. Haven't really been commentating over it for the last 2 minutes, but yeah, generally things came down to this little group over here. I got a few units over here that actually managed to sort of scare off most of the units on his flank. The right flank was completely lost there because he had cavalry coming in, and Azak helped in that fight as well. And I just didn't have the morale and or the manpower really to keep the fight going. My men ended up routing pretty rapidly because when the general died, it just wasn't enough. And I just I talked to him afterwards as well, saying that maybe I said I could have brought more Thunderers, but I tested it and it is they take too long. He can literally, I actually end up conceding because there was no point anymore. There was no way that the Thunderers could take him out in time. He could literally hover over my general whilst having 4 Thunderers, or however many I would have brought, firing at him, and he still wouldn't go down before he got 3 or 4 Spirit Leeches off. And he obviously wouldn't do that. He would just back off of his general and then get back in there again when the Spirit Leech is back up. There was nothing I could have done about it. And that's the problem with playing as the Dwarfs, which I didn't realize before the tournament. If I had to play a tournament again, I definitely wouldn't pick the Dwarfs. I can tell you that much already. Whether I go through or not, I would not pick the Dwarfs again in the next tournament, because they are just so... They're so uncreative, really. They have no cavalry, they have no magic. Well, I mean, besides the ruins, they have nothing really that they can do against cavalry. They have no anti-cav. They just don't have much. They have infantry. They have lots of armor. So the dwarves essentially just sort of sit there, and then you hope that that's enough with your armor. Like, you hope your armor will carry you through. But anyway, that was the first defeat for me in this tournament. There's still one battle yet, though. And like I said, even if I lose this one and the next one, I might still go through depending on the other results. But anyway, let's actually end the replay and have a look at the kills and such. So you can see, getting a whopping 1 kill on Forgrim there, which is pretty good. Bunch of kills on the Runesmith, not really a whole lot. Miner's not doing particularly poorly, to be honest. There's a baby crying in the background. Hopefully that's not too annoying. Let's hurry this up. Most of the units doing, like, some of the units doing okay. I mean, the Hammer is mostly doing pretty well, but he just had so many Black Orcs, and he just had, oh my god, crying, yelling in the background. Just end this real quick. Yeah, just all the Black Orcs punching through my men, just and the general dying. Obviously, this wasn't enough. Anyway, that's very loud. I gotta end this episode. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Next time, battle against Total Warzone. Until then, have a good day and goodbye.